What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the PS5 career mode. This is episode number 41. And we start today's episode off with our first ever European game. That's right, super excited for it. Europa League group opener away against Victoria Poulsen. So excited to be here in Season 4. And of course, my expectations for the competition, I'd say quarter-final, semi-final. Final like the board want would be amazing. But for our first run in the Europa League, just getting through the group is the most important thing. I don't think it'll be an easy group, you know. Obviously, Victoria Poulsen, Rapid Vienna spent time in the Champions League. And of course, Villarreal, who I think will be the favourites to top it. So starting the group off on the back of the win against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, looking to get a win on match day 1, and 28 minutes in, 2-2 for our new number 10 to replace Ilias. Yes, and Brecci Eze back at the Kai Prince Foundation Stadium. I'm so happy I've brought him back. But this game was not just our first ever European game, it was also the first game for Big Josh. Yes, of course, the Academy graduate who came out of the youth team in the last episode. I said he'd get his debut in today's episode, and I've got to be honest here, I was just as excited to use him as I was for our first European game. He almost scored on his debut as well, bending one just wide in the first half. But 18 minutes to go in the game, still leading by a goal, looking for that second goal, looking for the dagger. Charlie Kelman provides it in what was a 2-0 victory, and stoppage time as well. Chris Smalling, what a last-ditch tackle to preserve the clean sheet and ensure we go back to West London with that in the bag, along with the 3 points as well. Final score, Victoria Poulsen 0, QPR 2. And I think I quite like the partnership of Josh Adeyemi and also Smalling together. The kid and the vet lining up together in the centre position. I think that'll do really well for both of them this year. But as you can see, directly after the game, Josh's development plan did finish. Of course, I did say I was going to train him to be a primary centre-back and flip those two positions around. Because of that position change, his overall is now shot up from 62 overall, I think it was, to 65 overall, to represent how good he truly is and why he's much better as a centre-half. I've given him the growth plan of a sweeper, because this way we can train the key stats in defending, also give him a little bit more pace as well, and the jumping as well. That's really important because it's 6'6". I want to get the jumping up to like 99 overall. Can you imagine that? 6'6", 99 jumping. He'd never lose an aerial duel. I'd absolutely love it. And considering how hard it is to score from crosses in this year's FIFA, sorry, I say crosses, so it's quite easy to score from crosses this year if you draw them at least. But from corners, I should say, maybe he could be a bit of a monster and a threat from set pieces as well. So yeah, Josh now up to 65 overall. I tell you, man, I've got huge plans for Big Josh this year. So for our second of 10 games in today's episode, that's right, 10 games in today's episode, taking on the Blades here, Sheffield United, who just avoided the drop last season by a point. Tough start for them this time around, however, and we would take the lead early on in the game through Guessu, Eddie Nketiah getting his second goal in 2 Premier League games, and Charles Ball the assist as well. Love the aerial header from Ball there, really good to see. Of course, he got a serious injury last year when going up for a header, but he's not going to let that stop him going up for aerial duels despite his small stature at 5'7", and Nketiah will bag his brace right before full time as well in a 2-0 victory. So both goals coming right before the half time and the full time marks. Nketiah bagging a brace, 3 goals in 2 games for Eddie Nketiah in the Premier League. This year, I'd love it if he could win the Golden Boot. Last year, of course, 23 goals, finished 2 behind the winner, Mohamed Salah. I'd love it if he could claim it this time around. Still for the third of 10 games, yes, big bumper episode today, taking on Manchester City away from home in the EFL Cup third round. Of course, as we know, they are through to the final after beating Manchester United in the semis in real life. They've had a great record in this competition under Guardiola since he came in as well. And so heading into the game, of course, we repeated the FA Cup final back in Season 2. You would have seen by my lineup, it was a totally rotated and weak lineup because the EFL Cup is not important to me. We got the Europa League where the ball wants to reach the final, our defense of the FA Cup, and we love going far in that competition, and of course the Premier League where the ball wants to finish in 5th place as well. Quite frankly, with so many games coming, there's just not enough rest days for us to field a strong team in that competition. So that one's over. 3-0 loss, but again, I wasn't really one bit fussed at all, to be honest. And real briefly as well, what do you guys think of simulation in FIFA Career Mode? What do you guys think about it? Now, personally, I play all the games. The only games that I might skip out are perhaps like a 6th game in the Europa League or Champions League group stage when there's nothing to play for, or we're guaranteed to finish in a position where we currently are heading into match day 6. But otherwise, I'll play literally every other game, just because it's, of course, realistic. So what do you guys think about simulation? Because it's a bit of a hot topic in the FIFA CM scene. Some people are really opposed to any kind of simulation whatsoever, because it's really unrealistic to just sort of have a night off, if you will. Whereas some people simulate like half the games in a season. Totally up to you, I think, in my opinion. How you want to play the game, you play it your way. You know, you bought the game, you spent your hard-earned money on it, you play however you want. But yeah, for me, I do prefer to play as many games as possible, if not all of them in a season, and a save as well. So for the fourth game of today's episode, we're away in the North East at St James's Park, aiming to bounce back and get back to winning ways, and we would as well. A 2-0 victory at St James's Park there, with once again Nketiah bagging a brace. 5 goals in 3 games for Eddie. Right now our number 9 is just on fire after none in his first 3 in the Premier League, possibly 4 in the Premier League to start the campaign off there. And did you see the second goal as well? Abrechi Eze's turn on the halfway line. You know, if you watched my Sheffield United career mode last year, you'll know how good this guy is. He's got such a low centre of gravity. You know, there are sort of players that you use in FIFA and they seem like so light on their feet. Abrechi is that type of guy, man. Great assist for the second goal there in a 2-0 victory. And for match day 2 in the Europa League as well, taking on Villarreal, who I did say would be the front runners in this competition here. Luis Alberto, once of Liverpool, gave the Spaniards the lead, and in the second half he almost went 2-0 up. Chris Smalling, the vet, with a brilliant goal line clearance, keeping it at 1-0, and from that we broke on the counter, and with 23 minutes to go we found a leveller, and who was there to tuck it in from close range? Eddie Nketiah. This man is just a goal machine. When he turns it on, he's literally unstoppable. So yeah, 1-1 the final score in that game. I think Villarreal, again, front runners to win this group. We're probably just a little bit weaker than them in terms of the current ability of both teams. There's no reason we couldn't finish top of the group, but to be honest here, when you look at Victoria Pilsen and Rapid Vienna, right now from our first 2 games, a third way through the group, we're both 3 points ahead of them right now. I think that's probably how the group is going to finish. Even until in the group, I think that's probably where it will end up being for us. You know, second place, and that's fine with me. I don't need to top this group. Second place would be totally fine, and I'll call that a successful group campaign in our first ever year in a European competition. Regardless, following that, the month was over, so as we begin October, we have a scouting update, but sadly no academy update. Sorry about this, but I totally forgot about it. No academy update today, but there is a scouting update here, as we have our final scouting from South Korea and Nigeria. And I've got to say here, got some decent players in the end, and some bad news too. Luke Amos tore his ACL on the first day of the month. One thing that does frustrate me is the lack of variety in injuries in career mode. It's like, if you're going to get like a season-ending injury like this one for Luke Amos, such a shame. It is kind of realistic because he has, of course, got the injury-prone tag. It's always the same one. It's always an ACL, and I really wish there was different varieties of injuries you could get in FIFA career mode, just to keep it more realistic, you know. It'll make the game mode more immersive. But yeah, we like to see Luke again, probably for the remainder of the season, just like Ozcan, gets injured around this time, and again, we won't see him for the remainder of the campaign, I would say. Such a shame too, because he's a very underrated member of our squad. Doesn't play that often. When he does play, always puts in a really good shift. As you see our fixtures for October, as you can see, we've got Everton and Wolves, who are 2 of the big boys in the race for Europa League place last season. Of course, Everton pit Wolves on the final day to go into the Europa League this year, and also a couple more games in the Europa League as well. And for our next game, as you would have seen as well, we did give Ed a severance package as he is officially retired, and I'll wait for a 5-star scout to come available before I hire a new one to the youth setup. Taking on Watford for our following game here. Watford, of course, back in the Premier League for this season, and it was great to see this as well. Noni Madueke getting his second goal for the club since coming in on transfer deadline day. I think this guy is going to really improve our offense this season, because again, Jack Harrison last year, he scored 3, I was going to say 3, maybe 2 or 3 goals in the Premier League all season long. Maduke's already got 2. I think as an inside forward, he'll be far more effective than Roberts, who we just signed on a free, and also Harrison last year there. So second goal already for Noni this season. Former PSV man gives the lead. Watford would find their leveller, but 6 minutes before the break, this was awesome to see. For the first time this season, the Matador is mocked. Yes, Charles Bull sent down left-hand side, storms through, clear, one-on-one, finesses it into the far corner, restores our lead, and ensures we would get the 3 points as well. Final score QPR 2, Watford 1, all 3 goals coming in the first half, and again, that I think is going to really help us this season. The inside forwards, Bull, obviously last season, as we know, won the assist title back-to-back. He also scored, I think it was 8 goals in the Premier League season as well, so it was a fantastic season for Charles last year. But again, as an inside forward on the right-hand side last year, Jack didn't have that much in terms of productivity. But I think this year, instead of constantly going down the left or through the middle, I am going to go down the right a bit more with Noni, as I've got a lot more faith in him than I did with Jack or the new man Patrick in for this season. So yeah, great to get back to winning ways there. And afterwards, you would have seen we hired a new 5-star scout as well, Buchanan, a Scottish scout. Can we find the next old man Barry Hamilton? +1 to anyone out there that gets that reference. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But a new 5-star, we now got the best youth setup we could possibly have. And heading into our following game here, away at Goodison Park against Everton, who of course last season, as we know, pipped Wolves and us to 7th place in the table and that final European spot. Well, I was just praising him, and sometimes my big mouth does come back to bite me. Yes, 11 minutes into the game, Noni Maduke goes up for an aerial duel and stays down as well and is forced off the pitch. Really worrying because he's had a great start to the season. And a few minutes later, a misery compiler, Ezequiel Palacios, makes it 1-0 and the Toffees do take the lead. But this was a really interesting game because 55 minutes in, well, this happened. Michael Keane gets nutmegged by the Bull and the referee gives a penalty. I don't know what he was penalising Keane for, probably keeping those legs too wide open, but for some reason this was given as a spot kick, and I've got to be honest here, if that's a penalty, then yeah, I've got a chance of dating Ariana Grande. I mean, seriously, not a penalty at all, not even close to being one. So of course, in my old career modes, what I do when I get a penalty like that is that I would chip it down the middle to give the goalkeeper the best chance of saving it, or just blast it wide intentionally. For some reason, people didn't like me doing that, you know, missing penalties on purpose. So from now on, when we get a penalty like that, I'll always chip it down the middle, give the goalkeeper the best chance of saving it. If it goes in, it goes in. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This time it did. Eddie gets another goal. But to be honest here, as Harvey Barnes makes it 2-1 a few minutes later, I was kind of pleased to see Everton get back in front, because had we got a point in that game from that penalty, I would have felt really, really dirty and really cheap. There was no way that was a penalty. Terrible refereeing decision, and of course, a bit of a bug from EA there. Not the first time we've seen it as well. Do you remember last season away at Liverpool? We had it against us. So it's not the first time we've seen it. It won't be the last, I'm sure. But again, terrible decision there. And Everton did get the win as they restored their lead through Harvey Barnes. Noni Maduke's injury, by the way, is a 2-month one. Really gutted about that great start for the former PSV man. 2 goals and an assist in his first 5 Premier League games. Looks really impactful on that right hand side, but now a dislocated shoulder. He'll be out for 2 months. And already this season, we've had some injuries and some significant ones as well. Chris Metham, Ben White, now Noni Maduke going down. Luke Amos with the Torre ACL, out for the rest of the season. But the reason why I'm kind of happy to see it in a weird way is for our next game, today's episode here, Rapid Vienna, away from home, match day 3 in the Europa League, is because now we are playing in Europe. We've got a lot more games to fit into the calendar. And again, it is realistic to get more injuries on a regular basis when there's so many games to fit in. We're constantly travelling to different countries in Europe as well. So it's more realistic to get more injuries this season, so hopefully we'll continue to see that trend of more and more players going down with injuries this campaign. So Signal Rapid Vienna did take lead in the game, and unfortunately, talking of penalties, we conceded one in the second half, so we have 80 minutes to go as the Austrians would get back on level terms. No complaints about that one though. Chris Smalling definitely infringed his man, and it was a certain spot kick. And with 2 minutes to go, still tied at 1-1, looking to win the game and get our second win in the Europa League group campaign. Well, Charlie Kelman, I said when we sent him to Lille and he grew all those ratings, Ligue 1 Golden Boot winner, fired Lille into the Champions League. He's come back here permanently. He went out to France as a boy, he's returned as a man, and he wins us the game late on to give us the big 3 points in Austria. And the significance of that win as well is absolutely huge. Had we drawn it, we'd have 5 points after 3 games, Villarreal would have 7, and Rapid Vienna would have 2, so there'd only be a 3-point gap between us and the Austrians. But instead, we now go 6 points clear of both them and Victoria Plzen, level with Villarreal, only behind on the goal difference right now. So a massive moment in the group for Charlie Kelman and for us as well. 2 on the final score, and good to return to winning ways there away in Austria. And for the following game of today's big bumper episode here, we take on West Brom, the Boing Boing Baggies here at home, aiming to get back to winning ways in the Premier League here at the Kyan Prince Foundation Stadium. Feeling very confident indeed against the Championship champions last season. Of course, don't forget we knocked out in the FA Cup 4th round on our way to winning it. 27 minutes in, Eddie Nketiah concedes a red hot start to the season by getting another goal and making it 1-0. And Cameron Wilkinson with the assist as well. I'll be totally honest here as Nketiah heads in the second goal of the game with 8 minutes to go to ensure the 3 points would be in the bag, with another brace for our number 9 who's just on fire right now in a 2-0 victory. It was a battle once more between Myron Bawadu and Cameron Wilkinson. Do you remember last season trying to keep the Dutch striker quiet? How did he do? Kept him in his back pocket all game long. Did the same in this game as well. Cameron Wilkinson, seriously, man, he is the Boadu stopper. Kept him quiet all game long. Got the assist for the first goal as well. 2-0 victory for QPR, and back to winning ways there with the 3 points. So for our final game of today's Big Bumper episode here, travelling away from home to take on Wolves, Nuno's side at Molineux. Last season, of course, we're in 7th place practically all season long, and then lost it to Everton on the final day. This season they're looking for revenge, looking to get back into Europe for next season, and 62 minutes in. Do you remember I've talked about those players that always score against me in FIFA? You know the big two, Bruno Fernandes and Joseph Martinez. But now I've got to include Naby Keita. He scored against me once again. Last season he scored 3 goals against me in 2. That's now 4 goals in 3 games against me. The former Liverpool and RB Leipzig man just hates me. Another goal for Keita against me there. Wolves taking the lead, and I don't know how we lost this game, man. Seriously, spoiler alert, we did lose the game by 1-0. We had so many chances, so many attempts, but just could not find the back of the net, even with Nketiah, the top scorer in the league right now, firing a blank as well. Wolves 1, QPR 0, the final score. One of those games where you have so many chances but you just can't score, and the opposition scored their only shot of the game. Very frustrating indeed, but football and FIFA be like that sometimes. 1-1 the final score, and that loss there means we stay in 6th place, but for our first 11 games, 6th place in the table, already 6 wins on the board as well, and only behind Manchester United on goal difference too. It's not been a bad start whatsoever for QPR this year with our tough expectations from the board. But that was this episode of the PS5 Career Mode, guys. A big thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you have enjoyed today's episode, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode, which once again is another bumper episode. 8 games in the next episode as we get through the first half of the season and come towards the January transfer window. Much love, and I'll see you for the very next episode very soon.